What a combination of speakers. What a joy to be integral part of this interesting and exciting webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, dear friends, we live in a changing world. Extraordinary set of changes and challenges are happening. As we speak, we have gone through this COVID-19 with a stake of 28.8 million people tested positive, and we lost nearly 922,000 people. By no means, this is an ordinary crisis. World at large is in the crossroads. We are in a defining moment for us to transform and translate to be more productive, positive, constructive, and value-driven. The risk are of four types: the economic risk, environmental risk, human risk, and social risk. These are four major pillars of risk which needs absolute mapping for us to see through. We come out of this crisis, save the humanity, human dignity, human prosperity. That's the crossroad. How do we do it? What sort of challenges and governance we need to principally adopt with the changing dynamics? That's the focus. In terms of economic governance, there's a huge convergence among the politicians and economists, technocrats, to principally adopt in the improvement of liquidity, enhancing the debt servicing capacity of individual and institutions, ensuring the disaster recovery turns into business continuity. Measures have been taken. Over $25 trillion have been pumped across the globe, and 94 countries are at stake. Social governance, we have seen the reflection. We have maintained right kind of discipline. We have to save ourselves. And social distancing has been the norm. Hygiene has been factored, and countries are coming to new norms. When it comes to environment, possibly, this is an opportunity to create lesser carbon society, carbon neutral society. Perhaps the carbon emission we have seen in the last 6 months have been exemplary to see we have to come to terms with the changing energy mix, and we have to find pure collaborative model for us to see through this crisis and convert this crisis into an opportunity. Human risk, everyone is engaged in, making sure we test the maximum, we give the best of health care, and protect our dignity. Qatar itself has tested, as we speak, 691,000 people. We lost nearly 205 people. By no means, it is an ordinary accomplishment. The healthcare system has worked. The governance has worked. The framework has worked. We have to now think deeper and see whether we can create better sustainable value chain. And that's the very purpose of it. In the whole space of this pandemic, the Great Recession was pronounced, but a distinct, mind-boggling experience in terms of innovation. And with the changing dynamics, human endeavors to change ourselves, our attitude to redefine ourselves, has been an exemplary characteristics. And that's going to be positive. That's going to be productive in building food security, in ensuring we eliminate extreme poverty. We're bringing gender equality. We are ensuring universal education We are going to ensure we are reducing the carbon emission, as I say. We have to also digitize. With the changing pace of the world, the bureaucracy has to be minimized, and we bring in value-driven integration to see through extraordinary set of changes to minimize the disruptions. Commercial disputes are minimized, and everything is through digital innovations. We create peace, and institutions is meant for truth for action. This is the kind of change. This is the kind of challenge we are imposed in. Perhaps we have to interpret in positive terms. This is going to bring in more value-driven exercise. That's on the economic front. On the technology front, I'm going to showcase some of the mind-boggling changes which are happening and which are akin to the concept from the line of speakers who are assembled here. Now, let me start with the projection of the global economics. Economic terms, we are supposed to converge around 4.9% contraction. That's what IMF says. OECD has got a different prediction of 6.2%. Advanced economies are grossly underperforming, and we are going to have nearly 8% contraction in the advanced economies and nearly 3.9% contraction in the emerging markets, so-called developing economies. Qatar itself is going to go through a contraction between 5 to 7%. We are going to bounce back once we get the clinical solution, medical solutions, fully administered to the entire planet. Perhaps we can have a sigh of relief. We can bounce back in terms of politics and economics. So as I said, we have a bigger challenge, but we need to go through it. How Qatar is facing, Qatar economy is administering these challenges into effective actions and governance is meaningful. I've given the numbers in terms of healthcare, but we also have huge opportunity in Qatar economics. I can tell you very clearly, central bank has taken enormous measures. The fiscal and monetary prudence, alignment between the fiscal policy and monetary policy, with the pronouncement of His Highness Emir's $20.5 billion, that is equivalent to $75 billion, 75 billion Qatari riyals, has been quite productive in channelizing for improving the liquidity. The liquidity crisis should not move into a funding crisis. Funding should not move into a solvency issue. And that's the very purpose of it. Interest rates have been lowered right from Federal Reserve. A synchronized interest rate reduction in an environment where inflation is at stake. Definitely, we are getting into disinflation in certain pockets. That's temporary. There's no question of interest rate hike for the coming few years, perhaps. It remains to be seen. That's the level of conviction. Financial services, including Doha Bank and rest of the financial services, shown enough resilience and financial stability. And on the hydrocarbon side, we are going to move as planned from 77 million metric ton to 110 by 2025 and 127 million metric ton. We're going to have FIFA World Cup as scheduled. An enormous amount of commitment for sustainable value chain has been showcased by the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy. We are seeing the reflection in terms of the airport, seaport, road, rail. The non-hydrocarbon growth has been prolific. Ahmad International Airport has set in the right kind of standards to enrich human safety. We have a meaningful business climate getting evolved. We're improving the competitive offering in terms of free zones. We are looking for investments, including fintech, healthcare. Well, financial center has been responding to the challenge in terms of sports or digital or financial or media segments. We also have a law re-regulating the investments for non-Qatari capital. That's a good move. The idea is to open up for investments. And again, the real estate law has been redefined Qatar property law for foreigners. There are designated locations have been clear. We have also seen the public-private partnership. The key for the entire investment program is to make sure we build a public-private partnership, and that's important. We learned self-reliance after blockade, and Qatar's commitment to food security has been profound. We have reached self-reliance in most of the dimensions. We also have a changing dynamics in terms of technology. Let us interpret the global prospects. What is likely to come, perhaps. All of you know the changing dynamics. The first industrial revolution was cotton spinning and locomotive. The second was confined to mass assembly and electrification. And the third one was confined to PCs and mainframe. The fourth one is the new one, which we are witnessing in terms of social media, artificial intelligence, blockchain, robotic process, automation, name it. There are enough tools for us to transform application programming interface. You have open banking in terms of financial services. We have digital and sustainable value chain created for financial services. The collaborative models are going to redefine the game. The technology companies are coming together and becoming a bank as well. In the coming days, it will be difficult to distinguish between a technology company and a bank. And that's real. And again, how do you transform? How do you redefine your business model? How do you make sure you have sustainable value chain created? And that's the purpose of the session. Watch a few of my clips, which will run for 5 to 7 minutes. Then I'll hand it over to the rest of the speakers. The fourth industrial revolution is mind-boggling. We have to look at the state of the world from today, from now on. The interplay, how it is going to change the state of the world. That's a big question. Next is the digital disruptions. Industries are getting redefined. We have seen health is reimagined. Future of work is changing. Resourceful planet. We have seen the reflection in terms of resources. Everything is smart. And we have seen the behavioral revolutions. Urban world is concretized. Empowerment of customer happening as we speak. Disruption in terms of every single business model. Health transformation. Robotic is an artificial intelligence. And if you look at the global economics, over 60% of the incremental economic productivity come from Asia. And Asia contributing to urbanization. Automation and globalization affect the work. That's what we need to understand. The behavioral economics, so-called, and the climate change impact our life. There's no question. Empowering every individual. Individuals are becoming institutions. That's the lesson. Let's watch the next clip. That's a digital reflection for you. Now, what we need to understand is how we're going to use the platform. How do we bring in all the stakeholders, customers, shareholders, partners, employees, bringing them together and making sure we have value chain creation. And that's the key. And that's the message we want to give it, whether Amazon or Alibaba, Google or Apple, they all have done it. And that's why they're exponential in terms of substance. And that's why we have to recognize this change is real. We have to accept and adopt. The digital platforms plays a role. Watch this play.
Many markets rest on a platform. These platforms, such as smartphone operating systems or music streaming services, connect customers to a wide range of complementary products like apps or songs. A great ecosystem of complements attracts more customers. So even though some complements in the ecosystem are competing against each other, they also need each other. Traditionally, production is organized through hierarchies or markets. A platform ecosystem is a hybrid organizational form that is neither market nor hierarchy. Platforms and complements agree to co-specialization or exclusivity contracts. These agreements bind the parties into stickier, longer-term relationships than regular market contracts, and the platform coordinates and governs the overall ecosystem.
That governs the ecosystems. The platform governs the ecosystems. If it comes to a financial service industry, we have to connect the finance. The objective is to connect the people and the groups. One classic example is Australian Stock Exchange. I thought it's appropriate to bring it across. That's a beauty. It's an example how we can collaborate and connect people and groups, all the stakeholders, aggregation of services, integration of stocks, mutual funds, banking, insurance. That's going to happen. One single pocket. Customer is going to dial in and he has to be empowered to choose what he wants. He has to be given omni-channels and he has to be empowered in total respects for his convenience. And that's what the convergence is all about. When it comes to Qatar, we are also evolving in terms of fintech. QDB is working on it. And essentially,
Qatar, with its drive for innovation and knowledge and zeal to change the world for good, is uniquely positioned to lead in the world of fintech. We are launching the Qatar's Fintech Incubator and Accelerator program to be the hub of the best of global fintech and support them with unparalleled access to the local and global market, leading global mentors, financial support and more. These innovators will address the most pressing global, social and financial service challenges while enabling Qatar's vision and national initiatives such as cashless society, Qatar's smart city and Qatar National Vision 2030. Are you a fintech on a mission to transform the world? Join us in changing the world of fintech.
Qatar Central Bank Governor, His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah bin Saud Al Thani, has been very upbeat about it. He has been instituting as a culture now within the banking fraternity by the partnership of Qatar Development Bank. So that is what exactly the change. Now, navigating this.
Let me spend the next couple of minutes on the financial technology. As a short show, at Qatar Central Bank, we will be looking at the financial technology through classification of financial technology by primary economic function and how it helps us. As the chart shows, financial technology credit globally is still small. However, the lack of good quality data from the MENA country make it difficult to make any clear analysis at this point. There are, however, indications that this number is growing fast, especially in the development country. Why is that? I can suggest several reasons for this. If you look at this chart, we find that China financial technology has taken over consumer and business lending, while in the US, it is mainly focused in the consumer lending. On the other hand, in the UK, it is a mix of business, consumer, and real estate. This is quite a nice mix and show that companies and individuals have recognized the benefit of the financial technology. This is, however, not the case in the MENA region, and unless there is a big change in the culture, it might not take off on a large scale.
So what you need is the cultural change. That's what he exhibit. Now let me come to the final part of it, digital disruptions. We have to change. We have to change. If you ask me as a banker, what I've done to our institution is to recognize there's an absolute need for transformation. Transformation in terms of restructuring of your debt, as I mentioned earlier. Debt servicing capacity has to be improved in the changing times when there's a business disruption. It's a paralysis in substance. So you have to help the businessman to make him move. Again, we have to look at rationalizations. Now, the world is moving from circular to flat. So you have to necessarily find opportunities in recognizing it's a huge amount of rationalization is possible in terms of operating costs, administrative costs, staff costs, or otherwise. You can get the best of intellectual property anywhere from the world. You're not location-centric anymore. You're information-centric. And again, we have opportunities in terms of revenue enhancement if you collaborate for the reasons which I mentioned. And we have bigger opportunity in terms of the overall integration of the transformation. And that's what exactly the next slide is all about. So that's navigation of the digital disruption. That's the essence of my concept note.